All right. Get this bad boy rolling. All right, let me get this out there and then let's get rolling. Let's get this up into Discord. A little bit. Let's see. Got the dinner waiting. Let's go. All right, get started recording in just a minute here. Let me go ahead and put it out on the app as well, actually. Go ahead and throw that out there. Not that it's super crucial if you guys can't make it, because I will put a recording out, but if you want to ask any questions, of course, then it's always nice to have that. Just get that out on the app and then we'll jump right into it. And then go and silence that. All right, let's get going. What's going on, Stu? Yes, Santino, the chat is working. I see you guys coming through. That was I don't even know how to explain it, honestly. It was a very weird thing that happened last time I was live, where I wasn't able to see everyone's comments. Very frustrating, but it seems to have worked itself out. So right on. All right, guys, let's get right into it. Right, so we had FOMC meeting today at 2 o'clock. We had Powell talking at 2:30. Obviously, in my mind, this was the day that the market was kind of waiting for, following the I'm not totally sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Evergrande. The Chinese bank that had the $350 billion in debt. Um, you know, basically they were calling it China's version of 2008 Lehman Brothers, and everyone was kind of freaking out, saying, how big of ramifications is this going to have across the globe? Right. So we had that initial gap down off of that news, and then kind of sideways low volume movement the past 2 days up until that meeting, and everyone was kind of waiting on their seats, right, following that Jackson Hole speech that Powell had last month, where he was very dovish, saying, that the pumping up the economy, basically saying that, no need for interest rate hikes anytime soon. Today we saw a different Powell. Okay, if anybody listened in on that meeting, very, very hawkish Powell. Okay, for anyone who's not aware, hawkish meaning that, indicating policy and to a certain extent extreme measures to combat against inflation. And then dovish is kind of the opposite of that. We're taking more of a hands-off approach and not really messing with any monetary policy to mess around with inflation. You just kind of let it be, right? So obviously Powell and the FOMC this whole time has been giving a very dovish response to it, and the equities market, SPY, NASDAQ, Dow, has been very bullish as a result. Because look, in the short term, this is a bullish thing when the Fed is pumping in $120 billion a month into asset purchasing with 0% interest rates. Yes, it's bullish in the short term, but it can have very severe ramifications on a market and is not very healthy to do in the long term. And that's exactly what Powell basically said today. He said, look, as soon as we start seeing the job numbers get to the point we want to get them to, I think he wants to see unemployment around like 4%. It's currently somewhere around 6.5%. Obviously, very weak unemployment rate numbers back in August. Waiting for those September numbers still, obviously, as we head into October. But he pretty much said that they are looking to cut back and taper, and their goal right now is to be done with tapering by mid 2022, which is pretty much 6 months from now. And what they've been saying for a while is a year to a year and a half is their timeline. So very, very odd. And the one thing I found very interesting is that the whole time he was talking, right now, if we look at the charts here, the equities market, institutions wanted to push it higher, and they were just waiting, right? They wanted him to give that statement that would send us exploding, right? As this high point here is pretty much right when Powell started talking, right? Everyone was gearing up. They were waiting to send this thing soaring back up into where we're now back up healthy into that 20-day range, right? Everyone was kind of waiting on their seats for it, and it never came, right? And now we're still in this weird spot here where we're under the 50-day, and I'm very interested to see tomorrow. Do we kind of fall back in line and trail down to that 100-day? That's personally my thesis right now. I think we're going to start. You're going to see tomorrow a trail down to that 100-day. If not, certainly tomorrow we could start to see a little more sideways movement. But the key for me going forward, guys, as I'm trading, is I need to see this reclaim. I have this big bright green line here. I need to see the reclaim of this 447.5 area, aka the 20-day moving average, in the last area of consolidation before the Evergrande news dropped. If I'm a bull and I'm swinging and I'm putting my money into any swing positions right now, I have to see that. Okay, I have to see that reclaim. Okay, we filled the gap here. This was nice, but now this is the real test for the bulls. What do you do between this area right here? Okay, let alone reclaim the 50-day. And with that being said, if we do start getting nice price action to the downside tomorrow, look, yeah, we had a nice recovery day. Okay, no doubt about it. But you look at the 60-minute chart, and we're still well within line of areas that we have rejected as we make lower lows. Okay, we pull up into this supply and reject. We're still well within range of doing that again right now. All right, so now I want to shift over to the flow side. Okay, because there was some interesting stuff that I saw come through today, and first of all, let's look at the NASDAQ. I think it's important to kind of take a look at that. The NASDAQ, by the way, I think has a much clearer path to the upside than SPY, just because they're kind of sitting on that 50-day and they've reclaimed it a little bit, kind of holding onto it for dear life, but they still have the gap to fill to the upside. So me personally, as I'm trading the next couple days, if I do get, a little bullish itch and I wanted to trade the upside a little bit, I'm definitely targeting big tech names more so than just any retail companies or anything along those lines, right? I'm targeting a Tesla, I'm targeting an Nvidia, I'm targeting a Facebook. These are the names I'm keeping an eye on because there's a much clearer path to the upside. Again, still similar. They move very similarly, but that upside path is much clearer in tech right now. There's just a little bit of a lag in SPY. So I do want to keep a very close eye on that. But now with that in mind, I want to pull up the Tesla chart here because it might be nothing, guys. It might be nothing, right? We see hedging all the time. But I'm looking at this Tesla flow that came in today. There's some very interesting, very aggressive put buying for next Friday expiration. Relatively far out of the money. You see a lot of repeat 690 put buying with a 750 spot price, 747, 749. Very large orders. That 610K order, volume about 3 times the size of the open interest. Came in end of day following. You see that, Powell talked 2 o'clock, 2:30, 2:20, 2:55, 3:11, 3:56. You start to see these unusual Tesla put buyers come in with some aggression. As Tesla puts in a pretty nice day, right? They reclaim supply there, pretty nice day, but they're entering this area here. I'll go ahead and highlight this on the chart. They're entering this area now that they have just really, really struggled. And I think even this will kind of make it clear that this area that they've just been building under and struggling with the rising support. Now, from a technical standpoint, it looks like a very bullish setup. The earnings is a little bit away, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But I'm just very curious because it was some very unusual bets to see put buyers come in with that size following such a strong rally. And so I'm wondering if they're anticipating maybe another fallback around to the 20-day or the 50-day, excuse me, should be about a 40-point move, okay, which would put them up probably a couple 100%. So definitely want to keep a close eye on that. Even though, like I said, from a technical standpoint, looks good. I'm not going to be jumping into a Tesla downside trade just because I see some put flow. But if the chart starts to reverse a little bit and we start to teeter with this 20-day and we continue to see those put buyers, then we're going to kind of get a clearer picture of what the institutions are thinking. And maybe they're looking to push this thing down to the 50-day. Oh, did not mean to do that. Let me reload real quick. Come on, zoom out. All right, let me get it open back up. While I wait on that, guys, it's a lot of disconnect in the market right now, right? You're seeing unusual flow. You're seeing put buying on bullish charts. You're seeing call buying on bearish charts. Let's take a look at Nvidia. Yeah, very strong day, nice reclaim, but what's the next step, right? What do they do? And now this is one that I am a little bit more excited about to the upside because we had that 726K order that came in today. Looking at the aggressive orders, but I don't know, guys. We're still in a weird spot where in hindsight, we could look back at this and say, man, we should have kind of bought as they were ripping through this supply here. But at the same time, we're still well within this downtrend on just about any chart you pull up and still significant room to the downside. The fact is that Powell didn't really say anything that should send the market flying, right? He didn't. There was no policy indication. In fact, a little bit of the opposite, right? If nothing else, kind of sideways movement. Nothing spectacular. A bit underwhelming today, to be honest with you. But um, but I don't know. I just want to warn against, getting excited because of a little bit of a rally here. And then next thing you know, oh, we hit our head on the 50-day and retrace back to the downside. Okay, so I think, tomorrow's opening bell action should be pretty interesting as people digest the hawkish outlook by the FOMC. But at this point, I'm feeling, I think we got that pretty good. So at this point, I just want to take anybody's questions. What do you think about Apple? Absolutely. Yeah, Ariana Evergrande. Um, it's good magic. Trucking. I can see your comments this time, dude. You were livid, and I don't blame you, man. It was pretty frustrating last time. Wasn't able to see your comments. Glad I can now. Let's take a look for you, man. Let's take a look at Apple because I haven't been following Apple too well recently in the news, but obviously got hit with the what was it, the Epic Games thing, right? And they were found guilty for that. They were kind of screwing them over on the App Store. Basically an identical chart to SPY, right? Let me actually see if I can split screen this and show you. And I find this 99% of the time to kind of hold true, that SPY and Apple, because I think the SPY is made up of like 7% of the S&P 500 index is made up of Apple alone, right? So when you look at these charts, they're going to be very similar. And you look at that, it's very similar, right? Defended the 100-day, kind of hitting their head on the 50-day. Now let's see, right? Tomorrow, I think, is a very important day, and it's going to give us a lot of confidence going into Friday because we have now this. Yes, we have recovered. You're looking at both charts, Apple and the S&P. Yes, we have kind of defended those lows, and we've started to rebound a little bit. But the market, really what we were waiting for, guys, to send us sky high and to have the bulls just extremely excited was for some dovish talk today and for Powell to come out and say unemployment was looking great and that, we're going to begin asset tapering soon, not because it's bad for the economy, but because we don't need it anymore. That's really what we were looking for today, and we didn't really get that. So now, do the bulls have the strength to push SPY from 437 up to 447, right? Do they have the strength to push Apple from 445 to 450? And if they do, how much more can they fight after that, right? Because they're going to be pretty exhausted at that point, putting in a $10 move on SPY. And so what I'm theorizing here is that tomorrow you may see a little bit of continuation. I'm thinking we're probably going to hit our head somewhere in this area and then retrace a little bit back to the downside. Maybe Friday we test that 100-day again. I don't know, right? This is just from a technical analysis perspective, this is just what I'm theorizing here. But absolutely we could reclaim. It's just when I'm looking at these charts, I see a much clearer picture to the downside, right? I see, in terms of probability and risk to reward, I see a much greater chance of us rejecting in this area and coming back down than I do seeing the bulls fight all the way through this, then push even higher for us to profit, right? If we start entering around this area. And so I'm not saying that the bulls are completely out of it, right? I'm just saying let's give them a little patience. Let's be a little patient with them. Tomorrow, if the bulls push through this area, let's just pick our spots, take a couple small, nice trades, right? Because this is not the time to be aggressive in this area here. The time to be aggressive is once they reclaim and start pushing back up to the highs, right? Because that we can do that with confidence. But where we're trading in this range, it gets a little bit murky because you can see what happened all of last week. We traded within that range and we just could not push above it. And so that's just kind of my word of warning to everybody. In terms of Apple alone, like I said, same approach as SPY. I'm eyeing up the downside, and for me to become bull on this, I want to see them reclaim that 151.5 area. What would be bear entry signal? So there's a couple to me, and I guess I'm gonna have a couple answers for this. I apologize. I just cannot give you a simple answer. I have to hit you with a lot of stuff. So get your notepad ready. Now, I'm not going to hit you with anything crazy, but as far as downside, when I'm looking, couple things. First of all, from a swing trader perspective, I would like to see confirmation below the 100-day, right? And I would like to see, typically if I'm swing trading, I want to know my confirmation is backed up by a really strong catalyst, right? So something like if Powell came out today and he said the world is burning, Wall Street is crooked, we're busting all these banks, we have trillions of dollars in debt that we're not going to be able to, and we're not going to be able to extend the debt ceiling. If he came out today and said some crazy stuff, then I can feel good about taking the downside because not only is it a good technical setup, but it has a little bit of juice behind it, right? There's reasoning behind the sell off. It's not just a technical sell off. Now it's a news sell off, which is going to be more aggressive. From a day trading perspective, I'm looking to see weakness in this area. Okay. I'm looking to see SPY and the NASDAQ and all those big tech names. I'm looking to initially in the morning potentially see a gap up or an opening spike. And then I'm looking to see what they do around, these highs from this week. I'm looking to see, do they push above it? Okay. Let's wait. Let's let it close and then let's start to trade the upside. But what I would theorize based on our recent data is that they're going to show weakness in this area. Okay. And so when the bulls push around here and they start slowing down, showing signs of not really having enough firepower to push the market any higher. Now, once we start falling back down a little bit, now I hit my bear entries below the 20. Maybe I double down, and now I'm looking to scale out around this area here, right? So it's all about just kind of pinballing it within areas of weakness and strength. Okay, so like I would much rather, as a day trader, short the market in this area if it's showing signs of weakness. Okay, if the bulls hit this area, I'm not just shorting the market because there could be a lot of strength and they just boom, just plow through it, right? But what will happen most likely is they're going to hit this 442 to 444 area. They're going to slow down a little, right? And when you see that slowing down, that's kind of your, as a day trader, kind of your signal, hey, get ready. You start to see the volume pick up and you start to see a reversal level. Let's get ready to eat up the downside, okay? And yeah, that's my overall game plan. That's what I'm looking at for the downside. Again, from a day trading perspective, I'm looking to short the weakness up at the top here. From a day trading perspective, I hope I said that right. And from a swing trading perspective, I'm just looking to see confirmation through the lows. What do you think of XLY, the consumer discretionary fund? Since they stopped the extra money in unemployment, time for some puts. I like the idea on that. That's not a bad idea. I already have a position at 100. What would you do at $100? Hold on, guys. I'm reading through here. I'm going to get to everybody. Mine reviewing Snap, Netflix, Roku. Stu, I got you. Let me get through everybody else, and then we can just have a chill charting session. Absolutely. Down below 100 EMA, right? Got to that. Yeah, absolutely. No problem, man. No problem. What do you think of XLY? I'm gonna get to you. I wanted to finish with Trucking Inc. I already have a position at $100. What would you do? Can you expand on that a little bit? Like you have $100 worth of puts. Like what strike do you have? What expiration? Let's go through it, man. Like hit me with what you have, and then we can absolutely dive into it. And then while I'm waiting for him to reply to what I just said, let's get to that XLY because I actually really like that idea. Yeah, a very strong um, rebound off that 100-day, very aggressive, even more so than SPY um, and the Nasdaq. But what I would say is for all those reasons you stated, those are good reasons to short something, right? When you see a disconnect, when you have a theory like you have here, a very good theory, right, that there's a reason that we should be bearish on this, and you start to see it reverse a little bit, that doesn't mean that this is bullish. Okay, we're still in an area of weakness here, and you saw that it couldn't really push higher. Now tomorrow, if we push back up to the highs, we know just chill out a little bit, right? But a lot of the times, what happens is you know that something's bearish, but you start to see it pump. And what's going on here is the institutions are driving this because they're looking to get a good short entry. Okay, and then now because most likely they were short here, cashed in profit. Now they start pushing it up a little, let people get excited. At some point around here, more than likely, again, not I'm not saying anything is a guarantee with technical analysis. It's all about probability, creating a theory on something and then executing on that theory and then adapting for the next time for your next theory. But with that being said, right, they're going to most likely push it a little bit higher and then they're going to try to drop the hammer on it. People get scared. Everyday traders like you and I get scared. We start to hit our stop losses. We join in with them. We give them the fuel to push it lower. And so, yeah, that's something to definitely keep an eye on. If they start pushing back below this 50-day, okay, going back to not so much the thesis, but the technical perspective, keep an eye if they start to build off of today's lows. If they start pushing back under that 50-day, all of a sudden we have a really nice window down to that 100-day. So keep a close eye on that. You already have a position on Apple. Can you give me you got the upside, the downside? I think you were saying the downside. Sorry to ask all the questions. I just want to give you a proper response, so I want to make sure I have as much details as possible. What do you think about Apple? Yep. So I'm assuming you have the downside, but if you don't, then just do the exact opposite of what I said. Look too good. Okay, now maybe this is a good thing. I'm just going to run through this super quick, just to kind of give you guys my insight on options trading when I'm looking at a chart. I'm looking at what is a realistic move within a set period of time before theta starts to hurt me. Okay, so let's say I'm bearish on Apple and I want to short it around 144. And I'm looking at the chart and I say, okay, at the least, I want to catch a move down to this 100-day test. So a $2.50 move. So with that being said, maybe I should go about $2 out of the money, and that puts me about 50 cents in the money. Now, how many days is it going to take to get to that? Well, let's see what is the average size of the recent candles been. Man, it looks like about $1 move. So I want to give myself at least 2 to 3 days before I hit profit on this trade. So with that being said, if I bought a weekly expiration, all of a sudden I only have about 2 days left of expiration. And if it's still kind of around here, I might be flat on the trade or even down on it, even though Apple came down a little. So what I'm going to do is buy myself an extra week's worth of time. Now, if I'm super bearish on Apple and I think that they're coming down to the 200-day moving average, well, now I need to give myself a lot of time, right? Because I want to go further out of the money because it's going to cost more to buy myself more time. And so now all of a sudden you're talking about a $11 move. I should probably give myself at least 3 to 4 weeks to let that move play out because if I buy only a week or two of expiration, again, I could be right on the trade, but my contract could expire worthless. And then what happens? Next week, it completes its move. And then I'm like, damn, dude, I was right about the trade, but I just didn't have the right contract. And that is the blessing of the curse of options trading. You can be 100% right about a trade and still lose your money because you didn't have all those other factors, right? You could be the greatest technical analysis reader, but if you don't properly select your strike price and expiration dates, you could get burned on every single trade. And so it's just a little something I wanted to throw out there for you guys. 100 long, June 2023. Oh, dude, you're chilling, man. You're chilling. I would just say, especially if you're up on the trade, then I would say you're looking at the daily chart. If you have a June 2023 expiration, I mean, what do you have? Almost 2 years worth of time, right? A little under 2 years, about 20 months. Dude, you're good for a while, man. I would just say that the only time I would sell that contract is maybe if Apple comes down to like the 200-day moving average and starts ripping below it, right? But otherwise, you have plenty of time. And if you're looking at the overall chart, still well within their range. They haven't given up the 200-day moving average since the pandemic, right? I mean, we have to go back to March of 2020, which was what, right? The pandemic sell off. So when you're looking at a name that is just always bullish like Apple, and you have almost 2 years of expiration, I wouldn't stress about a feel for the market. And you look at the weekly chart on Apple, they're still well within their uptrend, right? They're still holding on to their 20-day moving average. They could easily bounce. Don't, when you're in a position where you have so overall bigger picture, because that's kind of your game plan with that trade. Roku ascending triangle. Absolutely, we're gonna get to Roku magic. Absolutely, NNDM. We don't do that here. We don't talk about that. Can you do an NNDM technical? Sorry, Jason, man. It was just that a mutual friend of Magic and I's. He was the biggest bull you've ever met on NNDM, right around this price point on the chart right here. And so you can imagine. Actually, no, wait. It it was right around here. My mistake. And he was telling us, dude, get long on this thing. And then what happened? Obviously they go down from 17 to $6. So it's always left a sour taste in my mouth ever since then, just because my good buddy Nicholas, he got a little bit burned on that. So we don't talk about it in NDM. But in all seriousness, it's one of those stocks where the company is kind of sketchy, and I only say that in the fact that I think that the last time I checked, they've sold like, what is it, Magic? Magic can verify this. They've sold like 10 printers as a company, right? And so it's kind of like space, right? Where it's like super hypothetical. This isn't a company like Apple that's doing 2 billion in revenue. You're basically kind of gambling on this. And so when you're looking at a stock like this, where you're basically like you're gambling on the stock, not the company, you're just looking for volume spikes. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for huge volume spikes, because otherwise, if you don't get volume spikes, you're just kind of, you know what I mean? You're just kind of trading in a weak range where you're just catching like every day it just goes up and down 20, 30 cents. And so to really make some serious money on a stock like this, you want to see like this, right? These volume candles down here, you want to see massive volume candles where you can potentially catch a $2 to $3 move. Okay, so that's what I would be looking for with a stock like NNDM. What's good, Sagar? What's going on? Roku, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Oh, get out of that so I don't have all that up there. Let me see. Let me see. Man, I knew Roku was bad. I haven't taken a look at them in a while, just because, for a while there, they were too pricey. It was kind of annoying. You had to spend like $800 for at the money contracts. Not totally sure what they're at right now. And while I have the chart pulled up, I have my phone here. Let's see if any significant flow has come in today. Nothing too crazy, and that's kind of the sad thing. Roku kind of reminds me of Baidu in the sense that the volume has died, and you just don't see the flow you used to see, right? Like Baidu for a while there was amazing to trade, and Roku is just like, RIP Roku, man. I mean, used to be the best stock to day trade. I mean, you kind of see, right? We took the roller coaster there, zipped on down below the 200-day, below the 50-day, below the 20-day, and now just very weak sideways movement. It's really kind of depressing, because it's a pretty cool company and really fun stock. I wish them well. I wish them nothing but the best in retirement. But if you're trying to trade Roku, I mean, what are you going to do, right? You look at this chart. You want to trade the downside? What are you going to do? You're going to hit the lows. You're going to catch like a $2 to $3 move, and theta is going to eat you up. So what do? You hit the upside. But if you're trying to hit the upside on Roku, now what you're doing is you're trying to catch a falling knife. Where at what point in the past 2 to 3 months has it given any indication that it is worth trading to the upside? And so unfortunately, Roku is one of those stocks right now that you just kind of have to retire, and you just check on it a couple times a week, right? And what you're looking for is that massive candle where maybe a news headline drops or earnings, where all of a sudden now it's back in play. Now we hit Roku 2 to 3 times a week, right? But until then, these are the kind of stocks you want to avoid, because like I said, whether you're a bull or a bear, you're going to get burned on this thing unless you're trading shares, because theta is just going to eat you up in that tight, low volume range right there. Yeah, I have the Roku float pulled up right here. And I mean, like I said, when Roku has strong volume, this is something to keep in mind, guys. Roku, with any stock in general, when you have a stock that's moving strong and it has significant volume, that's where the institutions are going. Okay. Now, very rarely you will see a stock like Roku get a lot of flow. And that's significant in the fact that the institutions might have something up their sleeves. They may have an inside trade going on. But outside of that, when you see very weak movement here, think about it. Roku, a $350 stock. What's moving Roku? The institutions. And so when Roku has low volume, that means that the institutions, are not really messing with it. If they're not really messing with Roku and it's trading sideways, they're not really going to screw with it as far as flow is concerned, right? They're just going to, because why would they? Why would they buy options if they're just going to get eaten up by theta? Um, so I mean, with that being said, absolutely. I mean, we could take a look back, the historical search here. Let's pull up Roku and let's go back to, I mean, just for the hell of it, let's go back to last Monday and let's just look at the past 2 weeks, basically. Let's see. So this is what I'm talking about, right? In 2 weeks, Roku has had exactly three aggressive trades in the institution sweep market, and only one of them was over 100 grand. So, like I said, guys, when it gets going, Roku is an amazing stock, right? You can catch a $40, $50 move in a day. But let's not try to time that and then end up getting screwed on theta. Let's wait for that to confirm, and then absolutely, man, let's hit Roku when that happens. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right with Tesla, but also something to keep in mind with Tesla is Elon really has a cult following, and he's kind of that charismatic guy that people just gravitate to. And something else to keep in mind is when Tesla exploded, Elon made so many just like dudes that have been like living at home trading, like he made them millionaires. I don't think people realize this. Like Elon created a wave of millionaires just with the stock Tesla. And so he has a very loyal following of people with, I mean, not crazy money, but they're not, it's not any chump change either, right? So he has this kind of cult that just that there's always going to be news on Tesla, no matter what happens to the company, right? And it's always going to be relevant. I mean, 30, 40 years from now, maybe a different story, right? Tesla may just strictly be spaceships, but for now, he has that cult following. Thoughts on Facebook with recent news? I'm thinking 350 plus if market stays positive this week. You mean recent news with the overall market or with Facebook? Because if it was with Facebook in particular, I may have missed it. So maybe if you just want to hit me with just a quick one sentence summary. Other than that, I mean, absolutely, I can go over the chart all night and day. But if you have a significant news break that happened that I missed, that's very important. I think something that gets misconstrued a lot is that hardcore technical analyst traders are like against the news and they think that everything is all technical. I think it's the dumbest thing ever, right? I think that they're both equally extremely significant. Okay, when something big in the news goes down, it's very stupid as a trader to say, oh, the news doesn't move the market. You just have to watch the charts, right? Like, where do you think those giant volume spikes on Roku come in, right? Where do you think those come in? They come in on earnings and they come in on news releases. So no, they're both equally very important. I just had to go on that tangent. You guys are probably like, what's wrong with this dude? Who abused this dude as a child? Because like nobody even was saying anything. I just had a random snapping moment because I've heard it before and it just drives me crazy. CTO stepping down. That's very interesting. After the Zuck news, Zuck stepping down, CTO stepping down. Huh. I wonder what's going on over there. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Facebook. What's good with you? Talk about a name to keep an eye on with relative weakness. Damn, dude. That's awesome. Facebook is, I have such a love hate relationship with Facebook. It's one of those stocks where I'll trade it every day for 2 weeks straight and then I don't look at it for like a month because it's so stupid. You would think someone like me who's crazy about technical analysis and data would be smarter than this. But for some reason, I tell myself when I hit a stock for like 2 weeks in a row and I go on a really good hot streak that I need to like leave the stock alone for a little bit. Otherwise, like I'm gonna start giving money back. It's just one of those weird things I do. Like a lot of the times, Amazon, I'll trade them like 4 times in an 8 day stretch, and then I'll leave them alone for a couple weeks because I'm like, all right, I made my money off them. I need to let them chill a little bit. So I'm always rotating through names. Um, but again, please, everyone in the comments, just say, Alec, you're an idiot. That makes no sense. Why would you ignore this beautiful drop? I mean, look how beautiful that is, right? We kind of stutter at the 20-day, boom, down to the 50-day. Hit your bear entry, boom, bear's profit. What happens? Gap down below the 50-day. It's a feast down to the 100-day. Now we're down. Now, I mean, you're looking at this chart, you're thinking to yourself, there's no way Facebook keeps dropping, right? Like you look at the daily chart, you're like, there's no way this thing keeps tanking. Facebook is just an absolute juggernaut, right? But is it though? Is it really? I mean, the chart is telling me that we do have room for another $20 drop. Now, with that being said, you never want to be the guy who shorts right here and then it bounces, right? It defends the 100-day and then boom, next thing you know, we're back up to 374 and you're down 90%. Ideally you would have liked to have gone short around here or even around here, right? 372, 362. But if we have a day or two of kind of stuttering sideways movement and it just or even if it comes back and hits its day on the 50-day, I mean, when you have that kind of volume and that kind of bear power stepping in, I don't see any reason why we can't short this thing. It's just a matter of going to the smaller time frames and finding your exact entry, right? Or it doesn't even have to be all about my strategy, right? Whatever strategy works for you. It doesn't matter what strategy you're using as long as it works, right? You just find your entry within your strategy, and you don't tell me you got a leap on this one too, man. Don't say anything if you have a leap on this. A long leap. A long leap. Did I just make that up, or did people say that? A long leap? It sounds ridiculous. Ugh. What happened with them? Good old Caterpillar. Yeah, it's pretty ugly, man. It's pretty ugly. It looks like there was a good catalyst there with the volume spikes. Oh man, that's pretty cool. I found a chart where I have these. I always like when I find this. This was a strategy I used almost 2 years ago. And so whenever I find one of these, I'm like, dang, like it's been like 2 years since I looked at this chart. Wow. That's pretty cool. I'm going to leave it there just for sentimental value. Once you get to this point right around this area, it's like time for a decision market. What's this stock about to do? Trade down to support and then just obliterated. I mean, yeah, you could try to trade the reversal on this because from my technical strategy looks like potentially an area to essentially buy the dip for lack of better words. But I mean, as strong as that rip to the downside is, it could definitely keep running. I would just keep an eye on this consolidation the past 3 days. It looked like the volume eased up a little bit today, and then I would just wait to see, can we recover at all? Can we at least get back to the 200-day? I mean, my God, if we can't even do that, then yeah, I mean, there's more room to the downside. Nothing right now. Okay, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was really hoping you were gonna say you were short on this and you were up like 2,000%. I was about to be so excited for you. With Facebook, Congress is going to regulate it. Let's go. I love to hear it. I do and I don't. I don't know. I have such a mixed. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think these social media companies should have like all the power in the world to do whatever they want and like suppress certain groups' free speech. But at the same time, they're a business and they should be allowed to do certain things. But it doesn't mean they should do whatever they want. But I don't know. This is my little tangent on that. The data steal. Yeah, okay. So I didn't read the rest of that sentence, so now I kind of sound like an idiot. Yeah, they shouldn't really be allowed to steal people's data. That's very ridiculous. That's why Zuck is bailing. Yeah, I mean, his baby is now a young adult and it's time to let go. Yeah, I mean, what is he even 40 years old? Isn't he like 37, 38? Maybe he is in his 40s. I mean, if I'm that dude, I'm like a mega billionaire and I'm like not even 40. Why not just retire and just like, I don't know, buy a spaceship or something, whatever billionaires that retire do, and just like enjoy the next 40 years of your life never having to work another day again. I mean, Sounds pretty sweet to me. I mean, I guess some of those CEO guys, like, they just live for the power and the adrenaline of running the like one of the biggest companies in the world. But I guess that's why they're CEOs and we're not. CAT is with Ariana Grande. Oh no, that'll do it. That'll do it. And I'm curious too, as we talk about Ariana Grande here, Evergrande. I'm curious. I'm just gonna start going through some bank tickers. Now, it was interesting today. Powell said that, no U.S. institutions really had any significant exposure to Evergrande, and it's not really something that anybody needs to be concerned about as it pertains to the U.S. and the globe overall. He said, really, it's just, you know, China should worry about it, and China traders in the Chinese market. But outside of that, it doesn't really affect any other countries or global markets. So and apparently, it looks like the bank charts are reflecting that. Obviously, that absurd gap down, as people were just waiting for it to be 2008 2.0. But it looks like we recovered. But I am curious, even though he made those statements, it looks like JPM couldn't really, ideally you would see that candle, you would see the close be closer than the high, and not a shooting star type of candle pattern. So that is somewhat interesting to keep an eye on. Maybe they can't reclaim this area. I mean, before the Evergrande news dropped, it's not exactly like they were bullish from a technical standpoint. So banks are weird, right? Because 99% of the time they're not really profitable to trade from a what is it? What is Goldman Sachs? Is it just GS or GSW? I think it's isn't it is it just GS? Aha, my memory was right. Yeah, I mean, banks are like, you hit a really nice news headline and it's a couple 100% profit, but most of the time they just move like $1 a day. It's so annoying. Um, but it's always important to keep an eye on them because, like I said, that one day that you catch a candle like this, I mean, because the volatility is so low, the IV, that it's a nasty profit gainer. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that though. I'm definitely going to start keeping a closer eye on the bank stocks as this Evergrande news starts to unfold. Facebook is a boomer platform. I totally agree. I don't. I literally have a Facebook for one reason, and that's because my family's on Facebook. And if I delete a Facebook, my Facebook account will be like, "Oh my God, where did Alec go?" So I have to have it. But I mean, outside of that, does anybody under 50 years old really use Facebook too much? I mean, I guess some of the groups and stuff are cool. I'm in a trading group on there that I sometimes go on, but yeah, I mean, Facebook is kind of. But they have Instagram, so actually they're low key winning. GS, yes, I was right on that. All right, guys, let me make sure I got to everybody. Security privacy updates on iOS 15 apparently fragmented their ad program for businesses. BACCMNTS after checking flow and chart. I got you, man. I love the passion, dude. The all. Let me just double check. Have you gone all caps on every comment? Oh, yeah, I see you around here. You started to get a little bit more passionate lately. Pretty interesting. Maybe add some coffee. I like it though, man. I like it. I like the passion at 10 o'clock looking at stocks. Amazon, BAC, Amazon. All right, guys, I'm gonna get to these last couple, and then I'm actually pretty hungry. I got dinner waiting for me, so definitely want to dive into some grub here. Amazon, I mean, kind of same thing as Spy right now, where you kind of have, um, was able to hold on to an actually very nice bounce off of that 200-day, right? The last level of support. That was kind of our last line of defense before the Bears took total control. And the bulls actually stepped in on there, which if you're bullish on Amazon, very positive. And now we kind of have this consolidation. And I think that if SPY and the Nasdaq start ripping, then yeah, this is not a terrible setup, right? And I don't even want to call it a setup. I say potential setup. Okay, because we do still have a lot of kind of nastiness to get through. And then as I started this video off with, again, anybody who jumped in a little bit later, you'll be able to watch this over again when I upload it later tonight. But once we fill the gap, that's a significant move, right? I mean, nothing crazy, but it's about a $80-$100 move. So then at that point, okay, you've put in your $80-$100 move. How much more gas do you have left in the tank to start pushing it through 351.1, 350.50, right? Those are the areas to keep an eye on. Not can it fill the gap, but once it fills the gap, now what do? Do you start to stutter and kind of start to trade back down a little bit slowly, or does the volume kick in and it goes parabolic, right? Those are the kind of things we got to keep an eye on. I got you, man. I know why you did it. I'm just busting your balls, man. You're good. BAC. All right, this is the last one I'm going to look at, and then we'll take a look at the flow on it. Um, BAC. Yeah, I mean, pretty much same thing as Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, right? Initial reaction, knee-jerk reaction to the Evergrande news was just explosive fear. And then once we started to realize, no, it's not really as bad as it seems. U.S. isn't really too affected by it. Start to see that recovery. But even though we recovered, like I said with J.P. Morgan, it's not like the chart was overwhelmingly bullish before the Evergrande news. It's still within its kind of downtrend channel here on the daily chart going back to late August. So for the past month now. And so you really want to see it reclaim. And here's a key thing, guys. What is a common theme in this downtrend? And I bet you that a lot of stocks you take a look at, you'll notice this when they're in a downtrend on the daily. What is a theme here? It spikes above the 20-day, and then what happens? It can't hold on to it. The bulls run out of steam, or the next day it pushes back below it. And so if you want to start hitting BAC to the upside, you want to see them get above that 20 day. You want to see them close above it, and then you want to see a second daily candle where it starts to build above the previous day's highs. And now what that does is that gives us about 3 candles in a row of bullish sentiment, where now all of a sudden, now we're starting to form a bullish uptrend where we could start running, go on a nice maybe 1 to 3 week run, kind of like around this point here, right? And this is a perfect example, looking at the 20-day here, right? Reject, reject, reject. Oh, came above it, closed above it, gap up, rip up above the 50. Now we start going long. Now all of a sudden we catch a $2 move, which is pretty big on BAC. So those are the kind of things to keep an eye on from a technical standpoint. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Great session. Tune in. I don't have an exact time yet for Sunday, but keep a lookout on that. I might be going live, might be, uploading a video, but definitely keep an eye on Sunday. But if nothing else, we will 100% be live next Wednesday. Same time, same place, same person, same charts, same everything, right? It's just going to be boring, same old. All right, so I'll see you guys definitely next Wednesday. More than likely, about a 99% chance I'll see you guys Sunday. Be on the lookout for that. And any questions at all, just jump into the Discord, right? We're popping in the Discord. Okay, so 100% come through the Discord, and let's make some profit. All right. Have a good night, everybody, and I will catch you on the flippity flip.